We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
This crusade, this war on terrorism is going to take a while.
We came, we saw, we died.
We tortured some folks.
Yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are parked. Welcome to the show. It's episode 27 of Dave versus Goliath. Thank you for being here. We took a couple weeks off to celebrate America like everybody else. How lucky we are to be here. But we are back, and back in a big way, and we'll get to it in a second. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave a nice review for your boy. It would really help the old algorithms there. And if you're watching on YouTube or Odyssey, please hit the like and subscribe button, because those are some serious rookie numbers. Got to get them up. And if you're watching live right now, let's check it out. We got a couple people in the chat. You guys are the best, and I love you the most out of everybody. So thank you for being here. Let's see. For everybody else, share the links on social media, Facebook and Instagram. That's where you'll catch me, because Twitter is being a scornful bitch. Damn. For like the fourth or fifth time. We'll figure that out one day. I miss it dearly. But for now, Facebook and Instagram, share it up. And obviously, if you're in the need for CBD, go to wheeliespharmacy.com. It's WHEELYS. Farm like your neighbor's farm, Moo Farm, FARMACY.com. For amazing CBD products, tinctures and capsules and lotions and teas. Beautiful stuff, guys, for pain and sleep, anxiety, all kinds of stuff. So check that out. But on to the show. As you can see, my main man Dan ain't in the building tonight. He's hanging out with his kids for a few weeks. They're visiting up from Texas. I got to see the guys the other day. If you didn't know, I am the kid's godson. So, yeah, it's kind of a family affair around here. But I hope he's chilling. And, yeah, we're going to have a good one tonight. Guys, I brought in the big guns, the boss lady. Since 2018, she has been the chair of the Libertarian Party of Los Angeles County. And at the end of May in Reno, she took it all. She's at the helm of the Libertarian National Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, the awesome Angela McArdle. Angela, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
It's really great to have you. Yeah, I do appreciate your time. And yeah, we're going to get into it. Mostly looking to the future tonight, because I feel like you're somebody who doesn't like to dwell in the past.
You are correct. You are correct, sir. I like to get things done. So that means you got to really look to the future.
Yeah, you do strike me as somebody who can enjoy themselves, but is there to handle business.
Yeah, I enjoy handling business. That's the way I frame it. I love work. I live to work.
Man, that is really, I feel like that's unique for one. And we all certainly do appreciate it. And yeah, you worked really hard. I mean, you announced, I think that this is really cool. You announced that you were going to run for chair a long time ago in, terms of today in 2020, November 2020. I know at least the lockdowns had something to do with this and the Libertarian Party's response to it. But that's a long campaign. And for me, I really appreciate it. Like, to just declare it early on. I think strategically it was smart. And I also think that everybody was watching what you were doing up until then. And I can speak for the Delaware Libertarian Party here. I feel like your strategy, your campaign strategy of going to as many conventions as you could, being as helpful as you could, and meeting as many people as you could was really successful. And first, congratulations on your victory. It's really great.
Thank you. Yeah, I went to, I think, 20 state conventions in a period of, it was like a year and a quarter, like leading up to Reno. I tried to just meet everybody I could. And I did. I announced basically 6 months after the 2020 convention. But you got to do that if you want to dominate and own the narrative and put yourself out there as the front runner candidate. You got to do that. You got to meet everybody. You got to figure out what the heck's going on and what do people need. And obviously, you know, get your own personal message out. And for me, that was strong opposition to lockdowns and mandates.
Yeah, thank God. That was really, as I think you put it, a whiffed ball there.
Yeah.
From the old regime.
Yeah.
And I do think for me, and you can tell me your thoughts on this, but I've heard you speak enough. I feel like in addition to really looking to the future and like there's a real excitement right now, and you're a huge part of that. But you also kind of represent like a bit of an atonement for the past sins of the party, if I may. Is that fair?
I think that's totally fair. We have to course correct because what happened was just embarrassing. And the party has been in pretty slow decline, you know, but steady decline, I think, since about 2006. I would know because I just spent about 40 hours going through 10 years worth of minutes and staff reports and financials, the stuff that would absolutely put you guys to sleep. It put me to sleep multiple times. I have,
that's how you know it's bad. That's not fun work. Yeah.
I've had to like dole out caffeine throughout the day. I'm trying not to go really hardcore in caffeine right now, but it's like every couple of hours, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like Hunter Biden on his crack pipe, you know.
That's right.
So yeah, we're gonna get membership back up. We're gonna have strong messaging again, which, believe it or not, the Libertarian Party's messaging used to be incredibly based. It was up through the late 90s, honestly. And when 9/11 happened, everything just got kind of weird. People got really sensitive. Even people that you wouldn't expect it became like hyper patriotic and you know, like you know, kind of freaked out. And I think that there was internally in the party an overreaction to that and being very fearful of having strong messaging in the face of a financial crisis, or not financial, sorry, a national crisis. And then we saw that repeat, right, in 2020. And I just don't think that's the way to do it, man. Obviously for like principled philosophical reasons, but even just when I look at the financials, membership and engagement, I'm like, this is just a failed experiment. The more we like freak out and shy away from controversy, the worse we do. So why don't we just be authentic and be ourselves? That's the most productive, it's the most principled thing to do. But it also makes financial and organizational sense to just go out and do the thing we said we'd do. Lo and behold, that's what people want to see.
Yes, that is a common theme that I've noticed that, and you know, just personally, when I'm looking for somebody to lead or somebody to, you know, a thought leader, like first things first, like, are you speaking the truth as you see it? The first thing, you know, and that goes across the spectrum, you know, Jimmy Dore, that guy's speaking the truth. Dave Smith, that guy's speaking the truth. You are speaking the truth. And you spoke about that recently at the Take Human Action Bash at the Reno convention weekend. So if it's cool with you, I'm just going to play a quick segment of that. And then
let's do it.
Here we go.
We're about to engage in some serious warfare with the state. Now, keep in mind, a real battle for liberty it might make our immediate situation a little bit more difficult, not easier. Because to begin to pursue freedom is to attract the attention and the wrath of the enemies of liberty all to you. When you speak up, and we are gonna speak up, you draw the eye of the state upon you. And I know some of you have already felt this way. So the battle really brings to a sharp focus some important questions. We see how all of the crises of the last couple of years, which exist as a result of government's recalcitrance, and the dramatically worsened situations that they've caused, like they're going to provide a setting for the much needed demonstration of character that's going to come out of the Libertarian Party. And keep in mind, physical deliverance from war, inflation, lockdowns, mandates cannot happen until we have like a spiritual, psychological, and emotional awakening in this country. And we are going to lead that. We need to embrace freedom in our hearts. For anybody who's out there, who's a skeptic, who's uncertain, you're just kind of checking us out. We need to embrace freedom in our hearts with all of its uncertainty, with its perils, and with its boundless opportunities, because that's what we're committed to.
I love it. So great. By the way, if you're listening out there, go to the Mises Caucus YouTube page and go watch the whole speech. It's fantastic. And while you're there, check out other ones from Maj Touré and Dave Smith. And oh man, what a great night. And Ron Paul, by the way, Paul was also there, if you want to check that out. It was fantastic. But back to you. That was just so great. One, I believe you when you speak. Two, I haven't seen that out of the LNC chair the whole time I've been paying attention to this party, and I'm so grateful for it. And three, the common theme there, is the truth, is speaking the truth. Maj talked a lot about this. Perhaps that we're entering new territory here as far as drawing the eye upon us. I want to talk just maybe for a minute, because this is right now, and my pal Dan Smots has posted quite a bit about it. But Gret Glyer of DonorSee, are you familiar with this story?
Little bit. I mean, I don't know all the details. I know that he was murdered in his home, but I haven't figured out like exactly what happened behind the scenes. So
we don't need. It's a conspiracy theory show, but I'm not there. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I wanted to point that out because, one, Dan already did, and he's a conspiracy guy, and he knew the guy a little bit, and so I feel like I have a little leeway there. And this isn't the first. Again, I'm not going to make any theories, but when you mess with their money, they tend to really, really resent that. That's like the one thing it seems like, man, I mean, the Secret Service, right? They protect the president, but they also protect the money supply, Federal Reserve, all this stuff. Look into that a little bit. Wikipedia will tell you something about that. But they really don't tolerate that, in my opinion, messing with their dollars.
Yeah, you're right.
And I just, wanted to kind of point that out. If you're not familiar with that story, this guy was headed up DonorSee, and he was making sure that people that needed money got it. I believe he was a really passionate Christian and just wanted to see the world be a better place. So I would check that out. Sorry for the detour there. I just thought that was an important one. But I thought, this was right before Reno. You made a post, and I didn't comment on it because when I passed it, I went, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then I was like, wait, she's probably trolling like me or people like me. And I hope you know what I'm talking about. You filed a FOIA request.
Oh yeah, I was not trolling.
You are not trolling. This is this is pure red meat for me. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, Angela filed a Freedom of Information request with the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the IRS. Is that everybody?
Yes.
I mean, those are some great alphabet boys to hit up first and foremost, to see if there was any involvement with them interchanging peeps or information with the Libertarian Party at any point. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's so fucking based. I can't even tell you. Beautiful.
So okay. So I did file it. I filed it, and I was hoping to get it back before Reno, before the convention. And of course, they dragged their heels, and I argued with them about whether or not it was an emergency. And like from a legal standpoint, I said, we need this because we're doing elections. There's financial issues potentially at stake. I don't know. You got the information. And they dragged their heels, and we went back and forth, and initially they denied my request, and I had to refile and the whole thing. But it is happening. It is absolutely happening. I don't know if it's going to be another month or if it might be 2 more months, but we're making progress. It has been submitted.
I don't need the exclusive on that. I just wanted to tell you how much that means to me. And
you got it.
Yeah, if Nick Sarwark would have asked me or everybody to sign I'm not a Fed pledge, I would have signed the shit out of that. Everybody should sign that. I should have brought
Yeah.
I'm Not a Fed pledges with me to Reno. I really cheesed that. That would have been a good one.
That would have been hilarious. Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of things. And now that I am the national chair, I have more of a fiduciary and vested interest in discovering the truth. So they're going to have to provide me with more than what they had to provide me with prior to Reno. So in a way, the delay does work out.
Right. Oh man, I'm very excited. Let's talk about your victory really quick. Myself, the Mises Caucus, we were obviously, when you announced, I mean, this was pretty, as far as libertarians being united, that was a pretty clear one from the beginning, which was great, like even just within the caucus and outside too. And you got 70% of the vote at the national convention. That's huge. That's really, I mean, talk about libertarian unity. I don't know. That might be about as good as it gets. But, and again, I'm not trying to shit on anybody, and I certainly don't need you to bash anyone that ran against you. But were you at all surprised? Like, you announced early. I would have thought that the opposition, whatever you want to classify that as, would have really galvanized behind some great prag.
Right.
And they didn't do that. I would say. Does that shock you, or do you just think that they were like, nah, it's just they're going to take it next time, and she's got it, and she's popular?
It doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me because they were not as organized as we are. So inside baseball, I don't mind sharing this because I think everybody should take a lesson here. The way the Mises Caucus operates, and this is not an internally discussed plan, but it's something I've observed. Anybody else really into military strategy? I'm really into military strategy, obsessed. We operated like an insurgency, literally like gang warfare, like a cartel coming in and taking something over and delegitimizing the establishment. And that's what we did to the Pragmatic Caucus. We came in and wrecked that shit so hard.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to respond because we delegitimized what they were doing. We kind of peeled the curtain back and we were like, look, there's nothing of substance back there. And we out-recruited them, and we had a recruitment strategy, and we had our own, like things that were viewed legitimate in the eyes of our members, like the Ron Paul Revolution and single issue coalitions, so there's like philosophical and ideological things, but also there's very much like political action, opposing lockdowns, trying to decriminalize cannabis and psychedelics, like very, very clear goals. And so they just couldn't compete. So I am not surprised, considering their operating framework and how they folded, like literally, that they didn't have a strong contender come out swinging in the beginning. It's just, we were beyond their operating capacity.
Couldn't do it at that point. Might as well just fold up shop. Is the classical liberal caucus a different store, same groceries kind of situation, or is that new and something?
I don't know.
More inside baseball. All right, we're not sure.
No, it's good. It's good inside baseball, but I will tell you, and it's eventually I need to make friends or declare frenemies or something.
Sure.
But I've just been like so consumed with data and financials and all this other really boring spreadsheet stuff that I just haven't had time to dig in yet. But there's always going to be factional wars. It's just, it's up to us.
You're the establishment now. Get used to it.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat though. Oh man. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about the journey to getting here. Everybody who I've ever had on this show, I invite because I really like them. So I don't invite people on here that I'm trying to grill. So I'm a fan of yours, obviously. And supported you from the time you announced up until Reno as a delegate. And that's because you really put in the work. And yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I did. Fully qualified for the job. And during the shittiest part of the last couple years, you did some really important work in California. So I want to talk maybe, it's about a year since you and some of the California Mises Caucus, I believe, released a documentary called The Unseen.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's just about a year. You're right. So Okay, so almost everybody in the country experienced terrible lockdowns, unless you live in Oklahoma, South Dakota, and like one other state. If so, congratulations, good for you. But the rest of us, really had the rug pulled out from under us. And if you're in a major metropolitan area like I was, like it was quite miserable, quite miserable. Things were shut down just for ages. And obviously, that sucks. It ruins my day, my plans, certain aspects of my social life. But the people who were really hit the hardest were small business owners. And so it's interesting how this project developed. We put together a short documentary, like, feature film quality, where we interviewed small business owners who were impacted by lockdowns, and most of them fought back. But the way that this sort of came about was, initially I was doing pro bono legal defense for businesses that were hurt by lockdowns or were standing up. They were trying to operate, fly under the radar, and they were getting ticketed. And so I started getting just flooded with requests from people who needed help, all kinds of crazy stuff. And that continued into mandates. But as I was doing it, I was like, we really got to capture these people's stories. We got to get this on camera. We got to get quotes. We got to get, so I was like, okay, so I assemble my team, right? And my team is great. And I'm very lucky because in LA, it's like the entertainment capital of the world. So lo and behold, we have a lot of Mises Caucus members who work in the entertainment industry, work
Awesome.
on professional film sets. I was like, yes. And they had kind of like a similar idea. They were like, oh, we should try to like film some of this, do interviews. So we were thinking we would do like a series for social media. And after we got started with this one small business owner, this woman who owns a diner, we were just like, okay, this is so intense. We need to put all of this together into a documentary because it's just like, it's so incredibly powerful. So
Yeah.
that's how it got started. It was absolutely a labor of love. And I had a lot of really good people contribute. So you could think of me as like the executive producer. And then we had our director and videographer. And then we had someone editing and a couple of people assisting with editing and color correction. And finally, we got it submitted to the Anthem Film Festival last year at Freedom Fest. So it got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so cool. Where's the best place that people can watch it in its entirety?
So what you want to do is you want to go to lpmisescaucus.com and contact us to ask for a screening, and we will get the screening set up for you in your area. It's not available online yet. I really need to get on the ball and get it through distribution outlets. That's a goal.
You've been busy. It's all good.
I've been.
All good. For now, though, for people who weren't aware of it, check it out. Here's the preview.
This restaurant, when we bought it, it was definitely a gamble. We put everything into it.
I never, ever thought I would be told that I couldn't operate my business.
The 3-week order prohibits in-person dining and gathering.
Things will get worse before they get better.
You're looking at least 130,000 employees that are out of work.
The people of the state of California will abide by it.
New guidelines issued by the mayor, who says he will vigorously enforce this order.
It's time to cancel everything.
To let go of my employees was probably the hardest phone calls I had to make.
My waitresses, my cooks, they're non-essential? Like who determines who's essential, who's not?
It was devastating. I didn't quite understand how to cope with it. Any day that you're not open is a massive hit.
You talk to every owner, and they'll tell you the same damn thing. That we're dying out there.
Over $150,000 is the debt that we've incurred.
I came into work and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna serve indoors. Screw it.
There was a couple other restaurants I saw starting to make a stand. And I felt that was my next thing to do. So I decided to stay open.
Superb. Shout out
Thank
to you guys for that. And yeah, please send my regards to the people who put that together. You're lucky to be out in Hollywood, have all those resources, because it looked super cool. And man, how are those people doing? Particularly that adorable lady from the diner. How's she
Sharon.
doing these days?
Sharon's doing pretty well. She was also a really big supporter of our anti-mandate activism in the city of Los Angeles. Matt's doing well. The guy who owns the restaurant in Ventura, Mrs. Olson's, they got together and created their own lobbying organization up in Ventura County. They have
Yes.
completely transformed Ventura County politics. It's really incredible. So
Wow.
it was really sucky what everyone went through, but some of the stuff that came out of it was incredible. We formed really strong communities. I know they appreciate us. We've been to speak at their meetings. We've had events at their restaurant. So I'm just really grateful for the relationships that we made while we did that documentary. It was really profound.
Yeah, I bet it was. And oh man, we're gonna have to do a Delaware showing around that. If Amy Lepore is in this chat anywhere, let's we'll make that happen. We'll do that. That's great. Well done. So it's only been a couple weeks, like 6 weeks, I feel like, since Reno. So not a whole lot of time has passed, but a lot has changed in 6 weeks. And I couldn't help but notice you've done this podcast, but you've already done a couple that are bigger than this podcast, believe it or not, like Timcast and You're Welcome. You've been on.
Yes.
Just in the first, I think Michael Malice might have had you on like week 1.
He had me on 2 days, I think, after the convention ended.
So I have to say, and I know that everybody who's watching this show is familiar with you and familiar with him, but I want to point out how special that is that you were on that he specifically reached out to get you, and very quickly, because that's as he would put it, he's a velvet rope guy, and he hasn't really been too infatuated with the Libertarian Party. I feel like that's being pretty generous.
And why would he be in his defense?
Yeah, exactly. So this is really a watershed moment here. I just want to take a moment, everyone, if you're paying attention, to what's happening, like the real shift. So I just thought that was really great. Both cool. I watched both, and you were awesome. They were both very different styles in that Malice was kind of hitting you with questions. What are you going to do here? What are you going to do? What's your idea on this? And you kind of participated in a long just conversation with Tim and his friends, but both were great. Any cool, experiences or things that stood out to you during those?
I just thought it was really cool to do something that Michael Malice was actually interested in, that was liberty minded. That tells me that we're on the right track. We're doing the right thing. I would say that everyone on Timcast is absolutely delightful. Ian gets a lot of grief. He is such a sweet, warm, authentic person. Same with Lydia. Lo and behold, Tim does have a sense of humor. And I got to meet Mary, who's on the show, who's like fairly new, and she does a show called Pop Culture Crisis. It's interesting to meet someone. She's like, I think she's just like in her early 20s, but incredibly based. It was very interesting. It was really cool to just meet people in a completely different part of the country who I hadn't met through the Libertarian Party, who were also very interested in liberty. And it really just goes to show that I don't think the Libertarian Party has been doing the right outreach over the last handful of years. Everybody says that we should only focus on doing outreach to free market Democrats. That's a very popular like Prague talking point, and I don't think that's correct. And I intend to disprove that theory.
Yeah, I think that you are the full rebuke of that.
I got to,
however you want to look at it. Sure.
I got invited on to be on Stu Does America a couple weeks ago too, which is a show on the Blaze. He was incredibly gracious and kind to me. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to make headway with people who are independent and liberty-minded conservatives, neocons, you get removed. You get the McCain, New Hampshire treatment. But anybody who's liberty-minded, right? Like, I think they're just ripe for the picking. Same goes with kind of red-pilled Jimmy Dore fans. There's another really popular progressive podcast called The Convo Couch. Those people did a lot. They were very outspoken on lockdowns and mandates too. Like, people are out there on both sides of the spectrum. We just gotta, have our eyes open and actually try to find them.
Yeah, and it's the past 2 years have really been kind of fertile ground for that, right? I mean, like, there's
Absolutely.
new, fault lines are being built everywhere. Tulsi Gabbard is like floating over here and doing.
I can't figure her out. Yeah.
Right. I think she's going to be at this event with Dave Smith and is, what's it called? Is it Young Americans for Liberty is putting it on? Freedom Fest? Is that
Oh, no. Okay, so those are two separate events. So Freedom Fest, I will be at too. That is this week, actually, later this week in Las Vegas.
Excellent.
You're right. I think Tulsi Gabbard will be there. Andrew Yang will also be there, which is interesting. I'll be there. Dave Smith. A lot of heavy hitters. It's a really incredible event put on by the Scousins every year. They had it in South Dakota last year. That's where the documentary aired. Really good networking opportunities. John Mackey from Whole Foods, he's also a speaker. All kinds of cool people are showing up, and some not cool people, but
room to grow, right? And yeah, it's all about the coalition building, right?
It is. I intend to bust Andrew Yang's chops very gently if I have the opportunity to.
Well, since you brought his name up twice, I saw you on Twitter. Just you do a gentle poke. So but it's true. He's like, sir, America wants a third party so bad, and it's like, sir.
Excuse me.
Right, I know. Like,
well, actually,
I want to hear what you're not into. If this isn't the one, like, what are you not into about it? Let's get to that.
So for anybody who's curious, like, I'm not interested in trying to like harpoon Andrew Yang for the Libertarian Party. I don't think that would be great in the future if he actually becomes a libertarian. We're not there yet. I'm not seeing that. I would love to hear him talk about how America needs a fifth party.
Right.
Like, I want to change this language. I don't think that you should ever give up the linguistic battle. A lot of people talk about third parties.
Agreed.
And we're just used to using it's a turn of phrase. The Libertarian Party is the third largest party in the country. And the Green Party is a very distant fourth place. And then there's everybody below us. So there's only, basic math, right? There's only one number 3. 1, 2, 3. Not 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. It's 1, 3. That's us. That's us. And I would love to just have a public conversation with Andrew Yang about that, or hear him acknowledge it and say, yeah, you're right. And the Libertarian Party, it's not for me because that would be kind of cool to know. No hard feelings. I'm not trying to like ram people into the party who don't want to be here, but I feel like there's a lot to work with there publicly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not like he's not aware. So, I mean, they're working pretty tightly with Larry Sharp in New York, and
right.
So yeah, that, I just like to hear that, because I'm sure some things you do like, should be anyways. So what don't you like, sir?
Right. And if there's room for us to work together on issue coalitions or something, that's fine. I'm happy to expose more people to our ideas. For me, it's a long-term investment, right? Like, I don't think that it's a good idea to try to rapidly flip someone from like progressive far left to libertarian. Occasionally it happens, and that's great. For the people that we get, fantastic. But for everyone else, like, I'd rather invest the time to develop and cultivate a relationship first, and then watch you come over like naturally as we genuinely change your mind, or just proof of concept convinces you. That's another thing that we got to like switch strategy with in the Libertarian Party, is the like simping and begging for unlibertarian celebrities to come represent us and join us. No.
Oh my God. Are you sure you don't want Drew Carey to be the guy who runs that?
I mean, hey, at least he's a libertarian.
Yeah, I know. I give Larry Sharp a hard time, but that's like, who he suggested. He's sitting next to Dave Smith. He's like, we could get Drew Carey for president. Just like, bro, we're not alike.
No.
It's
No.
okay.
It's
We don't all
it's
have
the
to
same
agree on everything.
like Joe Walsh, Liz Cheney. Stop.
Mm,
Oh, stop. People,
unbelievable.
please, please.
Yeah, this
No,
is the
there's
season of change.
yeah,
Feel it.
there's way more, celebrities who are libertarian than those two. Their ilk.
Plus, wouldn't it just be so much better to create something that would attract all kinds
Yes.
of celebrities and whoever else, just influencers or whatever? That's the better plan.
Yes.
So yeah, I think the Mises Caucus and perhaps the whole Libertarian Party now, I feel like, is getting like a long-term strategy going, which is
Yes.
pretty cool, because if just kind of swinging it every 2 years or something, or making political promises of change every 4, then you're just going to keep doing that. It's going to be a jobs program
Yeah.
for some people. But
Yeah,
you want to talk a
so
little bit about that? Some of your long-term goals?
absolutely. Okay, so long-term goals. Oh man. Okay, so let's dig into this. Where do I begin? So I've been working on strategy over the last couple of years, or a couple of years. It feels like an eternity. Can't even get my weeks, a couple of weeks. Actually, it's a couple of months, to be fair. I started on this prior to Reno, but I really got technical over the last about 3 to 4 weeks. Couple of long-term things we need to do, or we need to, and there's disagreement about this priority in the caucus, but this is a strong priority of mine. We need to maintain ballot access, but in a different way. It's not fruitful. It's not a good way to spend our time to go out and pound the pavement and have to collect 50,000 signatures. That's insanity. We need to shift to lobbying. Now, in order to do that, we need to be taken a little bit more seriously politically. So in the short term, the midterm, we have to start stacking some better political gains. So really what we need to do in a nutshell is to start working smarter instead of working so hard, because it drains our resources. It burns out our volunteers. People get so demoralized at the end when they're having a victory celebration for like, we made 4%. I'm like, oh geez, like, I don't want to knock anyone's hard work, but it's like a weird paradigm to fit yourself into when you work your ass off for months, and your victory is a number like 3 and 4%.
Yeah.
So that's something we've got to do. I mean, obviously we have already had a dramatic shift in messaging. We need to change how the board operates. We need to grow our staff a little bit. And right now, like, our overhead for staff is kind of heavy, and that's something that people are critical of. And I understand, but keep in mind, we do have to have people running things. So really what we need to do is like tremendously expand our donor base. And that means, I don't know, impressing people with something that's not
Right.
milquetoast messaging and like pitiful election results. So I basically looked at everything and I've said, where can we make obviously incremental growth, because I can't promise something insane, but what can we do beyond the last like midterm election cycle? Are we growing our membership by like 2 to 3% every 2 years? Can we stretch that? Can we double that goal? Can we do 4%, and then can we do 6%? And then like, let's see, where are we at with 6%? Like, at what point am I going to just sort of like plateau, and how do I break through that? And so we're developing all these strategies to do that. And obviously some of that means reaching out to different demographics, like the Bitcoin community. We did that outreach. That went really well. Reaching out to restaurant owners who get hit by really annoying, frustrating things like alcoholic beverage control. And that's not something that Republicans are super friendly with them on, because it's a very like conservative thing to, hold off alcohol sales. And Democrats love to just regulate everything to death. So even if they're like pro-party, they're like, oh, we're pro-party as long as you fill out 5 different license applications and pay me $100,000. So
Right.
finding these little like niche places where we can open up and like appeal to real people with like real concerns, while also being just like really bold and principled. Just like, nope, if you want to sell alcohol, we think you should just like be able to buy it direct, sell it direct, get rid of this extortion, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. for the future.
Me too, man. I'm very excited. And that's coming, you know, how 3 previous chairs. I've been very disappointed. I've been very critical. Anybody who's watching the show knows it. I've been very vocal about it too. So yeah, I'm just overcome kind of with gratitude, man. And just a feeling of just like, look, all right, now we have a shot. I have, all you guys are on my speed dial. I know how to get a hold of you if stuff, you know, look like it's not going well. Or,
Exactly.
Mike Heiss still calls me and checks in to make sure Delaware is going great. And
we must defend Delaware. I love Delaware.
I'll tell you what, if anybody defended Delaware, it's you. And Karen Ann too, give her a shout out, and many others. But you really have, you've been to Delaware to defend it at our convention last year. And that was awesome. That's where we got to meet you for the first time. And then, of course, on many Zoom calls, and then most recently with the Board of Elections in Delaware, trying to get our ballot access back from these stooges over here.
Which we got. We got it back.
Yeah. This is all in like the first 3 weeks of your on the job. Like,
oh man, there was that. Like the first thing I did, like I think what I had before, man, I hit the ground running with our candidate in Wisconsin. It was kind of the same, except it was, well, I mean, he didn't have someone trying to co-opt the organization in his state, but he had a GOP candidate challenge his candidacy. And the way the laws are set up there, we had like 5 days to reply, which, and in order to fight a candidacy challenge, you got to go through your entire petition, which is over 1,000 signatures, and verify each one again and like look at what they said. It was like an insane stay up all night, like 3 nights in a row kind of project. But we won.
It's a lot of fun work.
Oh, we kicked their asses. It was like the Board of Elections where you guys had your hearing, where the people, even the government officials, were like looking at the opposition, going, "Are you for real? Like, what are you doing? This is stupid." Ugh.
This is I have a high bar that I've set for you guys. Really, I do. And I think that there's this trend that you have fulfilled, Karen Ann, guys like Spike. I feel like if I'm gonna participate and give my time and energy, I want people that are like in it to win it and show up almost every day. Like you announced in 2020, and you just showed up for the job you didn't have yet every day.
Yes.
And so does she, Karen Ann. So does she, you know, being the historian for this party and doing her podcast. I include that too.
Yeah.
And all of, you know, Josh with his podcast, putting it out there. And Spike just being the guy, like for the first time I can remember, like, you know, the Libertarian didn't win the presidency, and he stuck around and kept doing the job of messenger. Like utilized the energy that he had created, that everybody created, but like,
he didn't abandon it. Mm-hmm.
He did not abandon it, and grew it for himself and for the party and for the movement. And that's kind of my new standard for you guys, for anybody. Just like really just like show up all the time and do the work.
You gotta show up. Like, I don't really get burned out. I think that Spike is the same way. I think that's something we have in common, which is good. You know, it's just lucky for me that I just happen to operate that way. But we need more people like that. And, you know, like one of the things that really keeps people from burning out is when they feel they have support. And because that makes it worthwhile. You know, and the Mises Caucus was so incredibly supportive of me, and it's just, you know, like really helped to carry me through and make sure that I get to all the conventions and make sure that I had support there and connect me with intel and like what are the struggles of this state party? What do you guys need? You know, what's dragging you down, or what are you excelling at? Where are you being awesome? So I got to owe it there to the Mises Caucus, and you know, they definitely were very supportive of Spike too. I should say, because sometimes there's this controversy. I'm curious what you think about this. People think, oh, you got elected, so that means you're going to get rid of all of your caucus affiliations and be neutral.
I feel like that's really weird.
I don't know where this standard came from or this expectation, but I'm an honest, authentic person, and so I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm very upfront about it. I am a caucus member. I'm still very much aligned, You know, I'm not off the board. I'm not on the board of directors anymore. I had to resign, like effective
Sure.
immediately once I got elected. But I'm like, I think it's, if anybody else feels that way, that they have to do it to be neutral, okay, that's totally your choice. I'll respect it. But that's not what I'm about. I signed up to accomplish a task. I made promises to certain people, and I'm going to fulfill them. Most importantly, like, because I believe in them, you know, like I love what the caucus did for the party, and I just want to continue it.
Right. Yeah. Why? It would be weird. Honestly, it would be weird if you did that.
It would be super weird.
It's almost like the days of like the newscaster who has no opinion. Like they're
Yes.
over. You can't even get
Yes.
away with that anymore. And that's good because Walter Cronkite he did have opinions and he just was a stooge. And
Yeah.
when people yearn for that nostalgia, they yearn for just the simplicity of it, not the truth of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what it is. So I appreciate that. And yeah, anybody who would ask you to do that is that's a political
It's
game, I think.
goofy, right? It's goofy. And it's
It
like, why don't
absolutely
I
is.
just be like authentic and myself and stick to my guns, and everyone else can trust that what I'm doing is in the best interest of the party. It absolutely is, because what grew the membership and activism base and like enthusiasm in the Libertarian Party over the last 4.5 years? The Mises Caucus did. So that's
Absolutely.
good for the organization. The two are not at odds. People
Right.
are like, oh, there's this and there's this. And I'm like, no. There's the Libertarian Party, and the caucus exists to serve and support and grow the party. And I think it's done a phenomenal job. So I'm hoping they'll continue to recruit for me really aggressively over the next couple of years.
Is that kind of what you see the role of the Mises Caucus
Yeah.
doing for the next couple of years? Is
Yeah.
just recruiting?
Yeah. And there's still some internal housekeeping that I can't get as involved in at this level, because I am technically, like, according to bylaws, I have to be more neutral in certain
Mhm.
fights. And so they need to be there to support state affiliates that are getting out of hand and, you know, like doing things that I'm like frowning at, like, dude, why? Like, why? So they need to do that. I think that another strength they have is with single issue coalitions. And I want the Libertarian Party to start catching up a little bit, but we're not going to be able to pivot as quickly and match pace. And there will be more like, you know, like little kind of tight ropes we have to walk, and we have to make sure that we really like put candidates at the top, so the caucus can really shine on issue coalitions and funnel people into the party that way and gain exposure that way. So there's a lot of really good opportunities for the caucus to latch on to, especially as I continue to grow into my role and develop the party.
So exciting. I love Mike Heiss so much. That's a magical guy. He's just got the vision. And I
Yep.
think,
Yep.
yeah, man, sky's the limit, really. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about potential. Hard to measure, but, there's a lot of that right now. A lot of potential. See what we can do with that. Are you, you're still the chair of Los Angeles County, is that correct?
For like 2 more weeks, yeah.
Okay. How's that work? You guys have another election or something?
Oh yeah, we have our annual elections usually between, June and July. So I considered stepping down right before Reno. That would have been fine with me, but I didn't feel that I knew that the board wasn't quite ready for that. So I made a commitment to just, carry it out until the end of the term, when I can properly pass the torch and they'll be ready, because I have chaired LA County since 2018. And I thought that regardless, it was time for me to do something else. This is something I think that Nick Sarwark struggled with. And I'm going to just talk about this from a human perspective, not an evil Nick the villain perspective. I think that when you run an organization for 6 years, there is a tendency to really own it. That's unhealthy. But it's also natural that you would feel that way, because it is your baby. You worked on it for that long. And I didn't want that to ever happen with me in LA County, where I became so possessive that I wasn't willing to let other people in, share responsibility, and so on and so forth. So I'm excited for LA's opportunity to grow under new leadership. One of our other Mises Caucus, executive committee members in LA, is going to probably be taking over chair for me, Dan Welby. And he was instrumental in all of the anti-mandate activism we did in LA. So I know that the county will be in good hands with him.
That's exciting. And you're having your convention, I believe, coming up soon, because I was listening to the Prop Report with Monica Perez. She's going to be is a keynote speaker. Is that correct?
That's right. She is our keynote speaker.
That is a really great choice you made. Harvard educated, ANCAP, Ron Paul lady. She's fantastic. I think that, I mean, she has the Propaganda Report was the most important podcast of the last 2 years, certainly from 2020 to 2021.
She is totally got her finger on the pulse. I love the work that she does. Like, we're in alignment on so many things. And like, she was asking me, like, who's, like, kind of for some intel, and are there people in the party who've heard of me? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
You'll have several fans.
Put in a good word for me. Yeah.
Several fans in attendance. She was like, am I too, like, how hard can I go? And I was like, well, before she was allegedly died of natural causes / murdered by the state, my friend Brandy Vaughn, who headed up Learn the Risk, we'll call it a vaccination awareness program so that you don't get kicked off the internet. She was my keynote speaker in 2019, and Monica was like, what? I was like, yeah, so you can go as hard as you want, because we've had Brandy Vaughn on the main stage.
Excellent. I'm sure, man, LA's in good hands. That's really cool. Speaking of California in good hands, you have a defender of freedom in this man.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom, it's under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight, or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to choose, freedom from hate, and the freedom to love. Don't let them take your freedom.
Paid for by Newsom for California Governor 2022.
Oh my God, the audacity of this guy.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
I'm like star working at that one. Like,
these guys and their doublespeak is just off the charts. I've never seen anything like that.
Freedom of speech, like, okay. A couple years ago, they tried to pass the pronoun speech laws like Canada has. And the way that they tried to sneak it in was through senior citizen homes. That it's illegal to misgender a senior in an assisted living facility. Oh my God. Weird stuff. Wow. So
he's one of these. He and Trudeau, they bro down together and World Economic Forum stuff. They're trying to institute all this.
Totally.
They're
freedom to walk through streets covered in garbage and hypodermic needles. Freedom.
Oh man, yeah. I just saw a video from San Francisco today. These awful people.
They have a service that has to come out to clean up poop. That's how bad it is.
I can't believe it. And yet there's parts of that city that are, the highest price real estate in the country.
That's how it goes. Right? Yeah. It's crazy. Like the prices soar, it becomes unattainable, and then
and then you're Venezuela.
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's do some rapid fire stuff. I just want to get your quick opinion on some things. What do you think about what's going on in Sri Lanka?
I think that they had a major currency issue.
They had an insurrection. It was like a 1-6 times 2.
Yeah. But I mean, there's rampant hypocrisy probably over here from people cheering for it. But did they have financial instability that also led up to that? Not just
you probably know more than me. Yeah. I've only seen some videos of guys having a mostly peaceful protest.
Mostly peaceful, yes.
Mostly peaceful in the palace of the guy. Their president left though. He flew away.
Oh, well, I would if I were him. I mean, from it's nice to not get murdered. Everybody feels that way.
What's the libertarian position? Are we pro people taking the house or not? You don't have to answer that.
I mean, I'm pro
pool party.
I'm pro pool party. I'm pro mostly peaceful protests. I don't have a lot of respect for government property.
Right.
There's that too. Killing people is bad, so don't do that. That's a no-no.
Yep. I didn't see anybody killed in those videos, or I would have not shared them and made fun videos with fun soundtracks behind them.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
I don't respect government as an institution, and so people clutching their pearls and screaming "my democracy" or "my building," I can't relate at all.
That's my building.
I don't get it. It's weird. It's like weirder than foot fetish. I'm like, I've heard of it. Sorry, I've never.
Yeah,
I've never
weird, but okay.
experienced it.
Yeah. So I imagine Georgia Guidestones then, right? If nobody claims it as their property, there's no property rights violations. What do you think?
I mean, like, it's the government. So who did taxpayers blow up their own thing?
I think they did. I don't even know. I think somebody, an unnamed source, paid for it and put it on.
Right.
Government
But it was
land.
a government. So it's interesting, right? So I'm not a big fan of iconoclasm. I think that it signals that something kind of bad is happening culturally when we go out and literally start destroying and tearing down monuments.
Totally.
This one is weird, right? I think it's always been kind of unpopular. I don't think that it was ever popular. It was put up, I think, in the 1980s, the early 80s.
Yeah, they said, I think 1980. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking Ted Turner might have had something to do with that. I feel like he. Yeah,
it's a very odd one. I haven't totally unpacked how all I feel about it. I mean, sure, I'm like, oh, blow up the evil thing. And then I'm like, well, be careful that you don't lean into the nationalist version of iconoclasm, because then eventually there'll be some things that I like that get torn up too. So I'm trying to have a, even level-handed, even-handed approach to this.
This is where I want to be. Yes, exactly. I don't want to fall into that trap. That was a perfect answer. What do you think about the new Hunter Biden stuff? I tried not to get into that. Like the sensationalist crap, I feel like, it's just kind of tabloidy, but at the same time, it's not like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard tabloidy. It's tabloidy, but very important for like national security reasons.
It's like it's related to, so it bothers me, right? The way that I phrase this on social media is, what should voters, keep in mind who voters, care more about? His involvement in Ukraine and all their political underpinnings, or his crack habit? I would like to say Ukraine. I think that unfortunately the crack and pornography and hooker habit is kind of related to the Ukraine stuff.
Right.
So even though I'm like,
these guys trade in blackmail. I mean, that's what the Epstein stuff is all about. That's what it
so
is.
I'm like, like, do we have better things to pay attention to? Yes. So just kind of dig through this surface level of garbage and get to the more important stuff underneath. So, people are just they're so addicted to sensationalism, though, that they'll latch onto this for like a couple of weeks and then it'll die and we'll be on to the next current thing that we either support or oppose. And that makes me kind of sad.
We do that. Like, man, it's like every week.
Mm-hmm.
Last one. it's so last week, but what about the Supreme Court? What are your feelings about that? I feel like they haven't done anything my entire life. And then since the lockdowns and all this global corporatist technocratic takeover, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to and these are things, again, I'm just wary because they sound on the surface like things I might support and like, hey, these are good steps. And then I'm like, wait a second, there's probably an angle here. So what do you think about that?
I'm not sad about Roe versus Wade going away. I think that it makes the most sense culturally for us to have it be a states' rights issue. It really goes along the lines of decentralization, and it's probably going to help the country sort itself out a little bit. Oh, growing pains.
We need it.
Right? We're like we've reverted back to adolescence as a country. Well, maybe we'll just revert back and become nothing and have a horrendous collapse in the future. But let's hold that off for a little bit. I would love a peaceful national divorce. I don't really want to live in a war zone. EPA stuff. Hell yeah. Saying that the EPA can't write its own legislation because it's not part of the legislative branch. Let's keep that trend going. Yeah. Let's gut all of these alphabet agencies. That made me excited. That really made me excited. I didn't expect Roe versus Wade. I don't know. What did you right? Like when I saw the story leaked about them doing, like having an opinion, I was like, okay, here's what's going to happen in my head. I'm thinking they're going to write an opinion, but it's going to be so weak. It's going to like barely change anything. And everybody's going to be confused and then it'll just be nothing. But that was not the case. That did not happen.
Yeah, and it's, I gotta say, give it up to the libertarians. Like, we are a party and we fight about a lot, but we are a party that has pro-choice and pro-life people in it,
Yep.
and they commingle, and we try, even though it's tough, we try and work it out.
Yeah.
But this is one of those issues that I feel like is such a divisive one that my inclination was like you, like, oh, this is great. I feel like, for humanity, this is good if that's just their angle.
Yeah.
But then I was like, wait a second. I mean, it feels a little bit like this is the thing to not only energize the progressive left, but also like maybe be the thing to codify it into law. Because ultimately,
I see. Yeah.
I think the state wants to have easy
totally.
access to abortion. So,
I mean, yeah, there and it'll depend on what happens in the midterms. And prior to this, so this was in my mind a downside. Prior to this, people were so upset about inflation and really riled up about what a crappy job the Biden administration was doing that I was like, oh, conservatives are gonna like really sweep, and then we're gonna have maybe not gridlock, but a much more like system of checks and balances that I'm more comfortable with as a libertarian, where it's not just uniparty control, and people like Rand Paul are going to have a stronger voice. I don't know, heaven forbid if he ever gets anything passed, but I was optimistic, especially with some of the like liberty trends in some of the GOP, and a lot of it's just bait and switch, but I'll take what I can get.
right.
But now it's just like Pink Hat March. They're going to get so organized and radicalized progressives going into the midterm elections. I'm just kind of bummed out. And I was kind of bummed out for our candidates too, because I'm thinking like, man, I'm working really hard and trying to put together candidate support infrastructure at the national level that our local and state candidates can use. But like, do they need this? Like, they don't have much right now. I'm so sorry, everyone. I inherited a husk of an organization in that respect, with the exception of some hardworking staffers. And it's like now it's going to be even tougher on them because all these people are going to be activated and voting. I'm just like, what a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Coming into the Delaware situation, it's funny to look at the microcosm because there's lots of similarities. Like, yeah, we just did an event the other day and we had these flyers that we pulled out of our bin from the last regime here, and they were from 2006. They were from 2006.
Oh no!
I was like, I'm going to put these away and I'm just going to talk to people. I'm going to give a presentation with my hands instead. Do a puppet show instead of using these. But lots of good people though, so that's the thing. We can make it work, and we will. I've already kept you a little bit over, so I'm going to get out of here soon. But I wanted to ask you, you just got the job that you wanted, which, by the way, I should have done this earlier. You put out, an APB that said once you reach a certain amount of dollars on your Patreon, you'll go full-time chair.
Yes.
You did that.
I did.
Is that right?
I did.
I should have put this on here earlier.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you already did it, but you're definitely under your pay grade. So go to Angela's Patreon, patreon.com/Angela McArdle, and slide her a $5 or a $10 or a $20 a month. And I think that that's great. I love that that's the model these days too. That's just the proof is in the pudding. If people want it, this is showing that people really want you to do this and they want you to be good. And
I am working basically 12-hour days for it right now. But it's just so worth it. It's so worth it. The party really needs it. And I want to set us up for success when I eventually pass the baton to the person who comes after me.
And I know that you will. I have, I don't trust a lot of people, my friends and family, but I have a lot of faith in you and others that we're working with. And I'm really proud of you. And
Thank
keep
you.
up the great work. And I got to ask you, you won the chair position, and perhaps more importantly, you're going to be a mama soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's public information. I'm not giving anything away there. So I got to ask, are you having the time of your life?
Yeah, actually. So this is such a weird flex. I've had Crohn's disease for like 5 years at this point, a little over 5 years. And I was mostly in remission. I thought I was totally fine. I switched to a carnivore diet after I'd had the doctors like literally threatened to take my colon out. It was really insane and terrifying. And my body healed really rapidly. I was like, oh, great. I'm going to all these conventions. It's like hardcore. And then I get pregnant. And pregnancy really lowers your immune system. And I didn't even realize that I was still like dealing with inflammation and a little bit of sickness until I got pregnant. And that just got rid of all of my symptoms. So I don't have morning sickness and like all this like crap that a lot of people deal with. I'm very lucky. It's like the healthiest I've felt in like 6 years. So it's pretty amazing.
That's really great. Oh man, I'm just I'm so happy for you. And I'm sure that the job gets stressful and being a mom is going to be stressful, but
don't worry, they check my blood pressure all the time and it's surprisingly low.
I love it. And I'm happy to deliver any unsolicited advice. By the way, I love your posts about that. How everybody wants to tell you how to do it. It's pretty funny. But congratulations, Angela, on everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So before we get out of here, tell people other than Patreon where they can send you money. Where should they check you out and find you and support you and support the party?
I have a Substack also. You can find me on Substack and you can find me on Locals. I post a lot of really good content on all of those. I'll put obviously a copy of this awesome podcast up on there. You can see all of my thoughts on whether or not Drag Queen Story Hour is compatible with libertarianism. Spoiler alert, no. And you can find me there, and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
That's awesome. Angela, I really appreciate the talk. We've gotten to see you a couple times at events and speak to you for 30 seconds at a time. And you're one of the busiest people in the game. And I appreciate you and I appreciate your time.
Awesome. You. Thanks for having me.
You know it. Peace. Guys, the great Angela McArdle. Thank you for being here. That was a great chat. And the future is looking pretty bright. The future is also female. They were right about that. And I'm here for it. So, guys, I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next week with Reed Coverdale, and we'll talk about what it's like being perpetually banned from Twitter together. Peace.